Anyway, so the Audi A2.
Yes.
You've arrived in this today.
I have, yes.
Tell me about it, mate.
Well, it is. So the backstory to this is we're doing a feature with this car and another vehicle, which is similar. They both celebrate their 25th birthday this year.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
They're the same age?
They are the same age.
1999.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and they both have a similar ethos, which is why we brought them together for this feature.
Have you said Honda Insight, or have you not said Honda Insight?
I've not said it yet.
Oh, it's okay. Well, yes, Honda Insight is also 25.
Yeah.
I thought the Insight was older. I don't know why.
No, so we were just having this discussion, to go slightly off topic, with Jack, our photographer.
Yeah.
And how, despite being born within months of each other, this feels a lot more modern in terms of its design. This feels like an Audi, basically. Yeah. Whereas the Honda feels like a 1980s Honda.
That's mad,
it feels a lot older.
Yeah. So there will be another. James and I are planning to chat after we finish talking in the Honda, which would be a separate video to follow. /pod, /vod, so whatever. I don't know.
There may be some crossover.
So there may be some crossover, but yeah, this feels to me like a pretty modern car.
It's now I hadn't driven one of these. I just
at all.
So it ended production in 2000, and there'll be someone who can tell me this correctly in the comments. But I think it's 2004, 2005. I think was the last year of full production. So I missed it on the start of this career. I missed it, and I just didn't get an opportunity to drive it. It was a recently replaced car, so there was no need for them to wheel it out as a heritage model. And if I'm honest, I don't think Audi really wanted to sing too much about this car, because, as we will discuss, it's a brilliantly clever thing. Yeah. But it didn't really do very well for them.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I did drive this car, but I don't think I've driven it since it was in production the first time around.
Yeah.
I went on the international launch of it, and
that's exciting.
It was exciting. Well, it also got me a job, because I met a journalist called Richard Bremner, who said, I've got this website called 4Car for Channel 4, which we're doing, and we're thinking of taking somebody on. Would you like a job? And I said, thanks. Yes, I would. Thanks very much. I'm sure the internet will catch on.
I'm not sure you're right, but time will tell.
Time will tell. I'm going to turn around.
So that's quite. So this car has quite a.
Well,
not an emotional attachment, but certainly it's a significant vehicle in your. I had no idea.
In my career, it is quite a significant vehicle in my career, actually. I suppose. Yeah.
But I didn't know what to expect. Well, I'm kind of blown away by that story. That's quite exciting. And to meet Richard Bremner as well, which...
Well, that's the first, yes, that was the first time I'd met Richard as well, and he's a very nice man.
Our audience are probably well genned up on this, but he was a road tester at Motor, and then he was Car Magazine for a long time, and that's when I first read him on Car Magazine. So
yes, okay.
It was quite a thing when I first met him.
No, he was, and there was a website called 4Car, and it was excellent. It ran, and eventually they turned it all off, because...
Literally pulled the plug.
Literally pulled the plug. It ran... until about 2008, 2009, I think. I came to Autocar in 2005, and it ran for another few years. And then eventually Channel 4 thought, we're not really into cars. And just turned the whole lot off. Anyway, I digress, sorry.
Did I read in your biog that you covered the World Rally Championship for
Yes, when Channel 4 ran the World Rally Championship, televised the World Rally Championship, I did the website for that as well.
That's very cool.
It was quite cool. I didn't go to many... Oh. I went to the Rally GB, but not any overseas ones, because it was just all in the office, churning out.
Well, either way, I'd have been very happy with that job.
I was very happy.
Do you know who won the 1991 Tour de Course?
91?
91.
Was it Didier Auriol? No. Was it Bernard Begois?
It was not Bernard Begois.
I don't know.
I think it was Carlos Sainz.
Oh, was it?
In a Toyota Celica.
Anyway, on the international launch of this car, they had the space frame, the aluminium space frame, hanging from chains, and one person at either end of it could lift it up.
That is very, very cool.
What does it weigh? About 8? I want to say.
It's so we had this discussion earlier. I may have misled you slightly, but it's 800 and it's about 890 kilos standard. I think there's a. Do you remember the 3-litre car?
Yes.
So the German market. So it was Volkswagen had one, I think, the Polo.
Yes.
Or was it? No, it was a Lupo.
It was a Lupo.
Lupo, Audi A2, and I'm sure
Yeah.
there was another one.
Do you want to... You might know this story.
Go on.
Ferdinand Piëch, the boss of Volkswagen, got wind that Renault was going to announce a 3-litre car.
Right.
3 litres being 100 miles to the gallon, isn't it? 3
Yeah,
litres per
3
100
litres.
kilometres,
Yeah.
100 miles to the gallon. And there was a bit of a competition to who could introduce a 3-litre car. Ferdinand Piëch believed that Renault were going to announce a 3-litre car at the Paris Motor Show. So he said, right, we need to get that Lupo 3-litre ready, and we want it to be ready for the Paris show. It wasn't at the show, but they helicoptered journalists from the Paris Motor Show to the Montfontaine test track where the Polo 3-litre was,
Yeah.
so that they could show journalists that Lupo 3-litre. Renault did announce a 3-litre Clio. It had a 3-litre V6 engine in the middle.
That's not true, is it?
That is an absolute true fact.
That's
I promise you
amazing.
that's an absolute true fact. Isn't that great?
That is incredible.
At least I'm assured that's an absolute true fact by somebody who also then verified it with Renault and said yes. And in fact, we know Tom Barnard,
Yes.
who was Auto Express at the time. He was one of the journalists taken from the show to see that loop.
That's brilliant.
Isn't it great?
I love that story.
Oh, me too. It's one of my favourite. It's one of my favourite Volkswagen screw-up stories. Almost as good as the one that they thought they were buying Rolls-Royce Bentley, but only bought Bentley.
I don't think I've heard that one either.
You have.
I don't know. I don't think
They did the deal to buy Rolls-Royce and Bentley from Vickers at the time,
right.
late 90s.
Yeah.
And very pleased about it. And then this guy, and I wish I could remember his name, but he was, I forget exactly where he was. Maybe he was maybe he was at Vickers. But anyway, Volkswagen thought they'd bought the lot, but they didn't. Whoever ran Rolls-Royce Bentley at the time had only leased the name of Rolls-Royce from Rolls-Royce Aerospace, who still owned the trademark.
Brilliant.
So they didn't buy it. They hadn't bought the Rolls-Royce bit. BMW came in and said, actually, we'd like to buy the Rolls-Royce brand. And they went, yeah, go for your life. And that's how Rolls-Royce and Bentley are now split companies today.
I don't think I'd heard that. That's another fascinating
story, isn't it?
It's a
Good
good story.
Anyway, sorry, mate.
That's all right. No,
So you've driven one of these for the first time today?
I have,
ever.
yes.
What do you think?
I'd read the first drives. I thought I knew what to expect, and I've actually been very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
What amazes me, and this isn't about the Audi A2, we'll get to that, is that this is a 25-year-old design. So when this was introduced in 1999, you're better at maths than me. What were 25 years ago before that had been?
Oh, I see. 1974?
Yeah. So,
yeah, that would make sense.
So a 1974 family car would have been Austin Allegro.
Yeah, I suppose. Morris. Was that
no,
still on sale?
71,
74,
I think it was
a Princess?
Yeah.
Would have been a big car, I suppose. 74, I think a Hillman Hunter. Would that have been on sale in 74? Cortina?
You were like a newsreader reading Jeremy Hunt's name there when you said Hillman Hunter.
Yeah, but they get it wrong.
Very careful.
They sometimes get it wrong.
Exactly.
Mate.
That's what I thought you were doing.
No, I don't know what car was launched in 1974.
The point is, though,
a Ford Escort.
Yeah, it would have still been Mark 1 just then.
That would have felt quite old by 1999.
Right. Whereas this feels, to all intents and purposes, there are some bits of it, the infotainment, obviously, that's moved on a lot.
Yes.
And yes, this is from Audi's heritage fleet.
But it's got not many miles on it.
29,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it is sort of a new car, basically. But I don't know what you think. To me, it feels really tight. It steers nicely. It's more fun than you expect an Audi to be.
When I did the first drive, I thought visibility is not very good.
Yeah, this is
because visibility at the back is poor. There's no rear wiper. and it's got that spoiler halfway across
Yeah.
because the drag coefficient's really low because it's really aerodynamic. Blah blah blah. And I thought the ride was quite brittle.
Yes.
But compared to a car today, none of those things is a problem.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It rides as well as any modern car. I can see out of it as well as any modern car.
Yeah. It steers really nicely. It turns in. You get it's engineered before a time when torque vectoring systems are taking hold. So you feel like the geometry has been tuned so that if you want it to feel like it's turning into a corner and rotating, the rear axle has to do more of the work. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
The engine is quite agricultural, but
It's quite noisy, isn't it?
I remember driving this engine in Fabias and Polos,
Yeah.
and I don't remember it being as refined as this. They've done quite a nice
really?
job of insulating it. The only time is when it starts up.
Yeah. And there does come a point, I don't know, viewer, listener, reader, if you can hear the engine. I can't now.
No.
And it's what, we're doing 45 miles an hour. It's only got 5 speeds, but that is 1,500 revs.
Yeah.
I couldn't see in the trip computer earlier an MPG readout. Is there?
No.
Is there one?
No. So
No.
given this, in many reasons, the inside that we'll talk about in our
Pod number
other
2,
episode,
pod number, whatever.
that has a very clear purpose. It's
Yeah.
designed to be very efficient.
Yeah.
This is also designed to be very efficient, but you don't feel like it's the be all and end all, which is why, for some reason, it doesn't have a trip computer. Because given the fuel consumption figures, because this is the 1.4 cylinder diesel, so it's I think on an.
And isn't that the? Yes, isn't there something about? Isn't this the most? They did a version of this, didn't they?
So there is a 3 litre version of
that
this.
does do the 100 miles to the gallon.
Yes, which Audi have one on their fleet.
Oh, do they?
But they never sold it in the UK.
Right.
So it's one that an owner decided he wanted to achieve 90 odd mpg frequently. So he had it imported. So it's left-hand drive. It's got an automated manual gearbox.
Oh, has it?
And I toyed with bringing that one along, but it didn't seem representative of what an A2 is. But it's just what's so. So this, I reckon, inside, it's like Mark 7 Golf levels of accommodation in the back. It's roomy. They always reckoned it was a small car with an A6 packaging.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I just think it's the whole idea behind the feature was, they were the future ones. These cars, they were going to be the future, and then they sort of weren't. But if anything, they feel more. This feels more relevant today, because as he said, it's not that quick, but it doesn't. The roads are more congested than they ever were. They're more heavily, they're more heavily trafficked. Other cars are getting bigger, so your slice of the road feels like it's getting smaller.
Yeah.
And this is very compact, but it feels spacious, and that lightweight. 890 kilos. I'd say this one.
Anything under 900 is astonishing by today's standards, because hardly anything's under 1,000 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those two, we did that Suzuki Swift and Renault Clio the other day. The Swift is under, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the
Renault's 1,100 and something.
And this feels more solid, but dare I say, than that Suzuki?
I don't think you dare say it. I think you should say it. It feels to me, you wouldn't, apart from the way it drives, you can tell there's a lack of inertia to it.
Yeah.
And it's like funny things, like if you stop and you put the wiper on, it's got this big single arm wiper again to save weight.
Oh, has it? Oh, so
yeah.
it has it. Yeah. Sorry.
Occasionally, as the wiper's going, the whole car will rock because it's so light.
There's so much inertia in the big wiper.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you know how big the dimensions of this?
I don't off the top of my head.
I'll put them on screen.
But it's small.
It's small.
But it's got a 390 litre boot, that's bigger than a Polo, I think now.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than a Super Mini. It's certainly bigger in the back.
And they just never sold enough.
No.
I suppose.
Well,
and it was expensive to put together because it's an aluminium space frame.
It's all aluminium, so it's an aluminium space frame, and the bodies are just hung. The body panels are also aluminium, and they're just hung on it.
Yeah.
So they don't form a stressed part of the structure. And my understanding is there are different figures floating around, but my understanding is when was it Bernd Fischstrider? Wasn't he in charge?
Fischstrider, Bernd
Fish trousers, yeah.
Bernd Fischstrider, yes.
Wasn't he in charge when...
He was in head of BMW.
He was BMW.
When they bought MG Rover Group.
Didn't he have a stint at Audi, or am I misremembering that? I could be wrong, because this feels like a PX car in terms of he had a hand in its engineering.
Yeah.
I think a more suited manager came in and pulled the plug on it. And as I say, the numbers vary, but roughly £4,000 was lost on every single one they made.
Wow.
Which is
quite
a lot of money.
I did not know that.
Yeah. That is
a lot of money. And because they weren't priced extravagantly, were they? I don't suppose they had to be priced less than an A4 and an
A3.
Could you get an A3 at the time?
You could get an A3 was 96.
Oh yeah, so you could.
And I think someone somewhere
here
said we're making a small Audi, not a cheap Audi.
Right.
That was the idea.
Oh yes, okay. Which is fine if people buy them.
Yeah, and people didn't. And
it's a shame, isn't it?
I've always said, I think this car's ahead of its time. Sadly, the truth is, I don't think it ever was. I think even it sort of feels like it should be more relevant today, because we're looking, saving resources.
Yeah.
Using less of everything.
Well,
I just don't think people would
buy it even today.
Even today.
Well, the thing is, because you're right. You say that should be the case, but since this came out, the SUV is now the dominant car around. People are still not buying cars like this, are they? The natural successor to this car, perhaps, is the BMW i3.
Yeah, that's a good.
And nobody's bought that either.
No.
So they've lost money on every one of those they've sold, presumably.
Well, I believe so, yeah, because that's got its carbon fibre reinforced structure, hasn't it? And any time manufacturers try and do something interesting and fascinate people like us, they fall on their face, because we tell people what great cars they are, but we don't buy them.
We don't buy them.
And then very few people buy them. Yeah. And I think if more people had bought this, they'd get it. But it's hard to justify, I think, spending so much on something that's a small car.
Yeah.
I was about to say, weirdly, certainly this diesel, given its dimensions, it's not a great town car. It's got a really short first and second gear, and then like a chasm to third.
Yeah.
And so you're always in between gears there's lots of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits now. So you're either in second, it's sort of, and it won't take third, and then you get to 30, and it's third's a little bit busy, and it won't. But out on the open road, it's got that big slug of torque, this diesel. It makes progress.
So job roads like this, it's fine, isn't it? You can leave it in fifth if you want and just ride it out.
Yeah.
The thing about interesting cars is that making them light, which is great and we like very much, is quite expensive. And that is a thing that is, if you put a large battery in a modern EV to go a long way, that ends up quite heavy. And you sort of go, and you don't necessarily get huge advantages from making it that much lighter, because as you lift off, you regenerate a certain amount of the electricity back into the battery. So actually, if you make an EV light, you get some advantage, but not as much advantage in terms of efficiency as you do with an ICE car. So, and lightweighting is really expensive, because you just have to use expensive materials and really clever design, and not very much of it, because to make a light car crash well is not as easy as making a heavy car crash well. So I wonder, for the future of the light car, except in really sort of exotic stuff, because who's going to spend loads of money on something this small and ordinary?
And even as a cheap, because you see these come up for sale second hand and they're quite cheap, and you think that's a great idea, and then you realise that even a relatively minor collision in one, they throw it in the bin, because guess what's quite expensive and difficult to repair? It's aluminium.
Yeah. It's a shame, isn't it?
It's a real shame. I've really enjoyed this car, and I went into it thinking one thing, that I was going to be able to tell a story of how we should all be driving an Audi A2, and the sad truth is I don't think there's any way, shape or form, any future where we'd all be driving an Audi. The car market would have to change fundamentally for people to accept that to save the environment, whatever, you're going to have to pay a bit more for a lighter, more efficient car.
Well, there's the thing, because Paris is now introducing this different parking charges depending on for heavy cars or lightweight cars. And the old boss of Citroën, Vincent Cobet, he was suggesting, he said, I think at some point that the EU will introduce legislation that taxes cars differently depending on their weight, or they will do something. They will have some kind of the EU or some nations within the EU. He thinks that the next at the moment we tax cars by CO2. Well, CO2 when most cars are zero emissions, you can't tax them that way. So what do you tax them on? He said, I think they will be taxed by weight.
I think that's
so. Then you're in a then you're in a pickle, aren't you? Because making light cars is really expensive, basically, or you have not big batteries. How do you sort of tax it fairly? Because if a heavy car might be taxed more, but in a way it's no more expensive to make.
Yes.
Because you just use steel rather than aluminium. So you make a really lightweight car, which gets you a bit more efficiency and you pay less tax. But actually it's more expensive to put together in the first place. So I don't know how the nature of things look over the next 5 to 10 years. Because my question to you was going to be, to finish this VOD video, whatever, to middle-aged men complaining about things.
Yeah.
Was going to be...
We haven't done enough complaining.
Well, we haven't done that much, have we?
Carry on. So we'll think of something to complain.
How would you make an A2 today? It was going to be my question. But is your sort of answer to that, well, you just wouldn't?
I think the industry's answer to that is you just wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would love there to be more of this. And I think this car, if you were to... So we're going to get into the Insight at some point. And that's got a hybrid. And it was one of the first mass-produced hybrids. I look at this car and think, now, if you could get even the Suzuki Swift engine.
Yeah.
So that was a mild hybrid, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
that
was
pretty
I
mild,
quite like that little motor.
Yeah, never
generator.
drives on the motor alone.
Yeah.
Just sort of torque fills at the bottom.
Yeah. Something like that engine in something like this would be great, because this has got a diesel, and so many of these were diesels because that's what we were told to buy.
Yeah,
the
tax incentive was big on those at the time, wasn't it?
So I had to go into the ULEZ zone in this earlier in the week.
Oh, did you?
And I had to pay £12.50 for privilege, and I felt like I'm in a car that will do an easy 70 mpg.
Yeah.
It's got sub 100 grams kilometre CO2, weighs under 900 kilos, so it's not doing very much damage to the roads.
No.
But I'm paying more than there's just 2 Land Rovers and a big Range Rovers going the other way. They would have been ULEZ.
They would have been free, yeah, absolutely.
And you think,
well,
it doesn't really make sense.
No, but quite a lot. If I take my motorcycle into the ULEZ zone, I pay £12.50.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, I think it doesn't make sense. I think there is an animosity towards the motorcycle.
Yes.
In elements of Transport for London.
Okay.
Elements of the London Assembly, or whatever the mayoralty is called, because they have a real beef with loud exhausts as well. Now I've stayed in London within the last year, and actually some of the loud noises of motorbikes at night is quite annoying, I grant you. People on sports bikes with loud cans in town it is annoying. But if somebody's on a motorbike, they're not in a car. And therefore they are easing congestion rather than going to it. They are improving. Pretty much any motorbike in the world is probably improving air quality rather than worsening it.
Compared to if you were getting...
Because otherwise otherwise they will be causing other vehicles to slow down because they'll be in a car.
Well, I don't know.
It makes no sense to me. And yeah, if I go...
Is that purely because your bike is a Euro...
It is a 2000, made in 2000, so it's not Euro. It probably is Euro. I can get it tested, and depending on its emissions, I may get an exemption. It's about 160 quid to test it. I've got to go in and out of London quite a few times before that becomes a thing.
Well, if it makes it any better, I get my own back because my old Defender TD5.
Yeah.
Due to the fact I bought it from outside the country. It's a UK specification right-hand drive car. It is ULEZ exempt.
No way.
I know. It's I sort of don't want to publicise this just in case it's a loophole that
will get closed.
But if you put the registration number into the ULEZ checker, it comes up with "Thank you for doing your bit to help the air quality in London." And I have to have a chuckle to myself because it's really not doing.
No, because I have a Defender TD5 as well, and it is not ULEZ compliant.
Yeah, and mine's older than yours, I think. What year's yours?
2005.
Yeah, mine's 2001, so... Go figure.
Go figure. Anyway, the short of it is, they're not going to make one of these.
No.
Because you resto mod one.
I think you could.
It doesn't need a lot, does it?
No, and it would be down to personal taste. It would be down to infotainment, I think.
Yeah.
As much as lots of modern infotainment makes me want to rip what's left of my hair out and punch walls. I do like a bit of Bluetooth connection. That's quite nice. To be able to stream music.
Yeah.
And you could do that quite easily with this. It wouldn't take much. It hasn't got air conditioning.
No, I noticed that.
Yeah, you can get climate control.
The ergonomics are really good.
Spot on.
They're really, really good.
I know we've done this before, but could you just adjust the fan speed for me?
Yeah, I can. That's from 1 to 2. That's now to 1, and that's off. And now that I can, that's full on. Good. That's full off.
And it's got cup holders. I know we have.
Yeah, they're cool. I like those. I do like a swanky cup holder that slides out.
Yeah.
Is there a risk that if drink spills, it spills down the?
Well, there is that.
Fascia?
Yeah. There is that.
Because the old Saab ones were really nice, but I was thinking that's a risk.
I've got one of those in the old 9.5. I do enjoy that. It's balletic in its operation.
That'd be really nice. Like
yeah. It's the only thing that still works on it.
Anyway, we've yacked on for long enough.
I think so.
Thank you for joining us. You can write to us, autocar@haymarket.com. You can find us, Autocar, on the socials. You can write in the comments, but I'm just too weak. I'm just too weak-willed to cope with them.
But make it constructive.
Yeah, if somebody wants to insult me, write an email with your name on it.
Yes.
That's what I always think.
Well, there is a school. It's not a school of thought. If you write stuff down, pen and paper.
Oh, really?
That's how you should approach life, isn't it? Before you get angry and smash a keyboard.
Oh, really?
Think about, would I write this down in a letter and send it to someone? I'm sure there are lots of kids listening to this. I'm sure there are lots of kids listening to this. Imagine there were lots of kids listening to this.
If
they won't know what a pen and paper is.
Well, anyway, Haymarket Media Group, Bridge House, Twickenham. London W1X, 1XX. No, what was the BBC one?
Oh.
The BBC TV Centre from the 1A, 1AA. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, I think it was.
Something like that. You can find us over at autocar.co.uk. You can find other videos here on this channel.
I've just remembered the Going Live telephone number. Was it 081 811 811?
Yeah, 8181.
8181, that's it, yeah. Sorry, carry
on. Thank you for joining us. Join us again in a Honda Insight very soon.
Where we'll have some insights?
Yeah, and there will be our videographer will finish filming other things and be back, and we'll do more sensible reviews again soon.
Unless you like this kind of way of doing it.
In which case we'll do some more. See you next time.
Bye.